Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Never Thirst Again. I'm your podcast host, Chrissy Smith, and I'm so excited that you guys have decided to join me on this beautiful Friday morning. Today, I am diving right into today's topic for discussion. I'd like to talk to you guys about how focusing on comparisons can really steal your joy. It's something that many of us tend to do quite often, right? Especially if I'm coming from the woman's perspective. We tend to worry about how our appearances measure up to other women or even just their overall lifestyle in general. We do this not realizing or understanding that the other person's journey is just that, their journey. I remember a few years ago, my husband and I were at an outdoor church event, and we were helping the youth with activities and games and just different things like that. It was so much fun. I was actually about maybe 4 or 5 months pregnant at the time. And so I was just now getting into that place where that second wind was starting to pop up in that second trimester. I was barely showing at that point, but in the middle of helping to set up tables and a few other things, I remember my husband walked over and my daughter Chloe was sitting high on his shoulders, and he said, hey, hon, why don't you take a break and sit down for a bit? Well, I told him, I said, hey, listen, I'm fine, I'm okay. But of course, he still insisted that I sit down for a bit and just rest up for a little while. So I did. I sat down and I decided to watch the kids running around with the balloons and going to each little gaming station and getting their faces painted and just, the whole 9 yards. Well, while I was sitting there, I remember my husband walking up. While I was sitting there, my husband later brought me a bottle of water and a plate of food. This was nothing new. Anytime that we were expecting a new baby, his sense of attentiveness always seemed to skyrocket to exponential rates. So for that time, I usually soaked it all in. In any case, though, I guess with so much commotion happening all around on that day, I wasn't really paying attention to some of the other ladies who were also pitching in to help. I was so busy in my own little world, but they were scattered about everywhere, just still helping to set up tables and help the children and even serve the food. Anyway, while I was sitting there, still enjoying my break, one of the ladies in the group walked over and she grabbed a seat right beside me. "How's it going for you over here?" she asked. "You know what?" I said. "We actually got a really good turnout today. The kids seem to be having fun and the adults seem to be having fun too." She agreed, and of course we went on to chat about a few other things, but while we were in the middle of talking, my husband walked up again, this time holding another kid who was upside down, but that kid was laughing hysterically. "Hey babe, still good? You need anything else?" he asked me. "No, babe. I'm good. I'm fine." I was a little tickled at how much fun he was having in comparison to the kids, but he seemed to be enjoying the day more than they were. "Okay, I'll be over here by the picnic tables if you need me." That was his response. And then he basically waved me off and trotted right on back over there to where the rest of the kids were. Needless to say, the lady beside me was still watching, and after a moment, she leaned over to say, "Man, I wish I had the kind of marriage that you have. It's clear that you two really love and respect each other. The fact that you guys are so fruitful is a plus too." She said that, but she said it with a lighthearted chuckle, and I have to be honest, I was taken aback just a little bit. Mainly because I was a little surprised by the comment, especially because it seemed so out of the blue, and also because it came from someone who'd been married for quite a while, and she was also quite fruitful, might I add. But anyway, I digress. It was the first time I'd heard someone say that, and coincidentally, we started receiving that same type of compliment throughout the years from other people. But each time I'd hear it, it always took me to a place of being both grateful yet deep in thought. Don't get me wrong, I think it's wonderful that people can look at my husband and I and they actually see something in us that they think mirrors what a good marital union looks like. But at the same time, no one, and I mean absolutely no one, understands the journey it took for us to get here. We've worked so hard to get to where we are, constantly being in good communication and even learning to parent well together. That wasn't always the case, though. Ask either of us. Believe me, we've got stories. We can't even begin to tell you about the ridiculous arguments that often occurred when we first said I do. I mean, arguing about silly things from folding towels the right way to whether or not the tissue goes over or under on the tissue holders. I mean, just absolutely ridiculous things that we can laugh about now. And of course, those are the ones that have been not so serious, but some pretty serious and heavy arguments and discussions have happened along the way too, as with any marriage. But during those times of pain and disappointment or fear and instability, it's forced us to grow stronger in God together. We really had to learn how to press in. And it's been quite a journey that's consisted of blood, sweat, and yes, sometimes tears. However, we know each other well, and now we know how to work together as a real partnership in this thing called marriage. Believe me, putting in that much work together has forced us to dig into our relationships with God a whole lot deeper, much deeper than this simple surface level stuff. Also, I'm sure that if you ask any couple, they will tell you that many things that they might have worked on in the beginning of their marriage might have gotten better, but along the way, you find that there is always room for improvement for so much more. I equate it to being like this. Have you ever seen someone and you might have looked at them and thought to yourself, man, I wish I was her size. Oh, I want to be her size. We don't know the reason that someone might be a certain size. It could be because maybe they have an eating disorder, or maybe they got really sick and that caused them to drop a whole lot of weight. You just never know the journey that some people take to get to where they are. So it absolutely makes sense that desiring things of others isn't what we should strive for. God has a specific plan for your life. Be content in knowing that and wait until the perfect timing of when God is ready to move you to a new playing field. It's the way we should think of as far as going from glory to glory. If you truly desire something specific in your heart and you need God to move on your behalf, then simply petition Him for it, but do it with a genuine heart, not because you saw someone else with something that you want or because they had it and you said, you know what, I should possess that too. In doing things that way, we open the door for the trap of comparing ourselves to others. And then in the end, all it does is steal our joy. I'm not as fit as that guy. Their house is bigger than mine. My marriage isn't as loving and kind as theirs. Listen, God is so intentional about blessing and helping those who truly and fervently seek His face. He is the living water that can quench your thirst for all things through Him. There's nothing wrong with desiring things, but just to make sure that that desire comes from an earnest place and a genuine heart, not covetousness. Well, folks, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this podcast, and I hope that you got something that will take you through the rest of this week. Always remember, though, you can subscribe to Never Thirst Again through Podbean, Spotify, and also Apple Podcasts. But before I leave you this evening, let me leave you with this. Theodore Roosevelt once said, "Don't compare yourself to others. You have no idea what their journey is all about." A flower does not think of competing to the flower next to it. It just blooms. Let us all bloom today, guys, without causing someone else to wither. Simply bloom and be blessed. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you right back here next week. Bye.